My sister announced at family dinner, "Your daughter can babysit my twins every weekend. She's 16. She needs to learn responsibility." Mom added, "For free, obviously." I smiled and said sure. That evening, I revoked the joint credit card I'd opened for family emergencies, the one they'd maxed at $47,000. By 9 p.m., there were 81 missed calls. The roast was still steaming when my sister slid a printed calendar across the table like she was handing out homework. It was one of those cheap inkjet pages with little boxes. Saturdays and Sundays were highlighted in neon yellow. Every single weekend, all the way to summer. She tapped it with her nail and smiled at my daughter, Lily. "Your daughter can babysit my twins every weekend," she announced, loud enough for the whole table to hear. "She's 16. She needs to learn responsibility." Lily froze with her fork halfway to her mouth. My mom didn't even look surprised. She just nodded like this had been decided in a meeting I missed. "For free, obviously," Mom added, like it was the most practical thing in the world. "Family doesn't charge family." My dad chuckled into his water glass. My brother looked down at his plate. My sister's husband kept chewing like he didn't know how to help. And my kid stared at that calendar and went pale in a way that made my chest go tight. Lily was a quiet teenager. She wasn't mouthy. She wasn't dramatic. She was the kind of kid who said, "Yes, sir," to my foreman when he dropped by our house once. The kind of kid who did the dishes without being asked because she knew I came home sore. She also had a part-time job at a bookstore 2 evenings a week. She had SAT prep on Sundays. She'd been saving for a used car, one envelope of cash at a time, like she didn't trust the world to keep promises. And here was my sister, announcing her weekends belonged to someone else. Lily's eyes flicked to me. Just one quick look. It wasn't anger. It was that old question she'd been asking me with her face since she was small. Are we going to let them do it again? I felt my hands go cold around my own fork. I wanted to say, "No, you don't get to volunteer my child like she's a spare appliance." I wanted to say, "Ask her. Pay her. Act like she's a person." Instead, I did what I'd done my whole life with my family. I smiled. I nodded once, slow, like I was thinking it over. "Sure," I said. "We'll figure it out." Lily's shoulders dropped a little, like she'd been bracing for something and decided it was pointless. My sister grinned and leaned back in her chair like she'd won. Mom reached across the table and actually patted Lily's hand, like this was for her own good. "Good girl," she said. That was the moment I knew. Not because of the babysitting schedule, because they said it in public. Like Lily didn't get a vote. Like I didn't get a vote. Like our time, our labor, our lives were community property as long as they needed something. I chewed my food and tasted nothing. I watched my daughter stare down at her plate while the twins screamed in the living room, and my sister pretended it was adorable. And I decided I was done being the family's quiet emergency fund. I was 41 at the time. I lived outside Columbus in a small 2-bedroom I'd bought after my divorce, right before prices went crazy. I was a builder. Not, I flip houses on TV builder. Real work. Boots, dust, calluses. I ran a crew for a commercial contractor. Concrete, framing, drywall, whatever the job needed. Most weeks I left before dawn and came home smelling like sawdust and sweat. Lily was my only kid. Her mom and I split when Lily was 8. No big dramatic scandal. Just 2 people who turned into roommates and finally admitted it. Lily stayed with me most of the time because my schedule was steady and her mom moved around chasing fresh starts. I didn't badmouth her mother. I didn't have to. Lily saw it on her own. My family liked to talk about family values, but what they really valued was access. Access to my time. Access to my paycheck. Access to my patience. It started small, the way it always does. "Can you spot me $200 until Friday? Can you put this on your card? Mine's acting up. Can you cover mom's prescription? Insurance is being weird." I said yes because I'd grown up saying yes. When my dad had a heart scare a few years back, I opened a credit card for emergencies. That was the phrase my mom used. She said it in that voice that makes you feel like a bad son if you hesitate. I made my parents authorized users. I even made my sister one because she had 2 babies and no help. I remember standing in the bank parking lot after, looking at the little envelope with the extra cards inside. I told myself it was responsible. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself, this is what good sons do. The first charges were actually reasonable. $143 at a pharmacy, $78 at a grocery store, gas, a copay. Then it turned into family needs. $1,200 at a furniture store. The couch broke, Mark. We had to. $640 at a big box electronics place. The TV finally died. $390 at a salon. Your mother needed her hair done for church pictures. $2,800 for a weekend rental cabin. The twins have never seen snow. That one was my sister. She posted photos of hot cocoa and matching pajamas while my account balance climbed like a bad joke. When I asked about it, my mom acted offended. Are you keeping score? She said. After everything we've done for you? Everything they'd done for me. Like raising me on the bare minimum meant they own me forever. I'd pay it down. I'd take over time. I'd skip replacing my tires. I'd tell Lily, maybe next month, when she asked about getting her driver's permit because I needed the extra money for the minimum payments. They never noticed what I gave up. They only noticed when I paused. And Lily noticed everything. She noticed when Grandma bought my sister's twins matching winter coats and handed Lily a leftover scarf from the clearance bin. She noticed when family photos got taken and someone always forgot to call her over. She noticed when my sister's kids got loud praise for drawing stick figures and Lily's sketchbook sat untouched on the counter like it didn't matter. One year, Lily made my mom a handmade photo frame in woodshop. It wasn't perfect, but she sanded it smooth and stained it dark and put a picture of all of us inside. My mom said, and set it behind a plant. Later, I found it in a drawer, face down, like it was embarrassing. Lily didn't cry. She just got quieter. I kept telling myself, they'll come around. They mean well. Don't start drama. Meanwhile, every month, the balance on that emergency card crept higher. $12,000. $19,000. $28,000. Every time I said something, they had a new story. Your sister had a rough month. Your dad's blood pressure monitor broke. We were short on daycare. It's just until tax season. Tax season came. Nothing changed. I was the one who changed, little by little. I stopped buying lunch on site. I started bringing a packed sandwich and eating in my truck. I picked up side work on weekends. Deck repairs. Basement framing. Anything cash. Lily would sit at the kitchen table while I measured boards, doing homework with her earbuds in, pretending she didn't mind that I was always working. I hated myself for that part. And still, when my family called, I answered. Because that's what I'd been trained to do. So when my sister shoved that calendar across the table and announced my child was her free weekend nanny, it didn't come out of nowhere. It was the same pattern with a new label. They didn't just want my money anymore. They wanted my daughter's time. My sister didn't ask Lily. She didn't even pretend to. She didn't say, hey, could you help sometimes? She said it like she was assigning chores. Like Lily was a spare adult she could borrow. And my mom, of course, made sure the price was zero. For free. She said again later, when the conversation circled back. Lily needs to learn to give, Mom added, looking right at me this time. You've always been so transactional. Transactional. I almost laughed. I'd been paying their bills for years, and they called me transactional because I didn't want my kid being used. Lily stayed polite. She always did. She said, I have work some weekends. My sister waved her off. You can switch shifts. It's just a bookstore. Lily said, very softly, I'm saving for a car. Mom sighed like Lily was being selfish. A car is a want. Family is a need. My sister leaned forward. It's not like you have a boyfriend or anything. What else are you doing? That one did it. Not the words themselves, but the casual way she said them, like Lily's life was empty unless it served someone. Lily's cheeks went red. She tucked her hair behind her ear the way she did when she wanted to disappear. I looked at my daughter, and I saw the exact moment she decided she didn't matter in that room. I knew that feeling. I grew up with it. And I realized something that made my stomach turn. I'd been teaching her to accept it. Not with speeches. Not on purpose. But by staying quiet. By smiling. By paying. By showing her that love meant swallowing disrespect. That night, after dinner, Lily helped clear plates because my mom pushed her toward the sink like it was automatic. My sister didn't lift a finger. She sat on the couch scrolling her phone while her twins threw toy cars at the wall. On the drive home, Lily stared out the window. The streetlights washed her face in quick flashes. She looked older in that light. Tired. I kept both hands on the wheel and said, you don't have to do that. She didn't look at me. It's fine. It wasn't fine. That was her defense mechanism. The same one I'd used for years. I said, Lily. She finally turned her head. Her eyes were shiny, but she wasn't crying. Dad? She said carefully. If you say no, they'll be mad at you. There it was. Not they'll be mad at me. They'll be mad at you. She'd learned where the pressure goes in our family. It goes to me. I absorb it. So everyone else can keep smiling. I pulled into our driveway and sat there with the engine off. I said, go inside. I'll be in a minute. She hesitated. Are you okay? I wanted to tell her the truth. I wanted to tell her I'd been failing her in slow motion. Instead, I just nodded. Yeah, I said. I'm okay. As soon as she went in, I took out my phone. My banking app was already open before I could talk myself out of it. That joint credit card sat right there, bright and clean on the screen, like it wasn't a weight on my chest. I tapped it. The balance loaded. $47,013.82. For a second, I just stared. I knew it was high, but seeing it like that made my throat tighten. $47,000. That wasn't emergencies. That was a lifestyle. That was them living like they had my paycheck without the work that earned it. I scrolled through recent transactions. A baby boutique, a home decor store, a seafood restaurant, a $612 charge from a place I recognized from my sister's Instagram story, a family brunch with mimosas. My hands didn't shake like I expected. I felt strangely calm, like my body had finally stopped arguing with my brain. I tapped Manage Users. 3 names came up. My mom, my dad, my sister. Under each name, Authorized User. I hit my sister's profile first. Remove User. A confirmation popped up. Removing this user will deactivate their card immediately. My thumb hovered for 1 second. I thought of Lily's red cheeks at that table. I hit confirm. Then mom. Remove. Confirm. Then dad. Remove. Confirm. The app loaded a second, then flashed a clean little message. Changes saved successfully. Right underneath, there was another option. Lock card. I hit it. A toggle switched from green to gray. Card temporarily locked. New purchases will be declined. I stared at the screen until it felt real. Then I did the last thing. I tapped Request Replacement. Because I knew they had the number. Even if they couldn't swipe anymore, they'd try to use it online. They'd try anything. The app asked why. Lost. Stolen. Damaged. I picked Lost because it was the closest thing to the truth. Then the confirmation screen came up with a little box of text. Your replacement card will arrive in 5 to 7 business days. Your current card number will be replaced. I sat there in my truck, in my own driveway, breathing slow. No shouting. No dramatic announcement. Just a clean, quiet cut. One financial move. One boundary. I wasn't punishing them. I was protecting my kid. I went inside and found Lily in the kitchen rinsing a glass. She looked up like she was bracing again. I said, go to bed. You've got school tomorrow. She hesitated. About the twins. I'll handle it, I said. That's all. I didn't tell her what I'd done. Not yet. I just kissed the top of her head and let her go upstairs. Then I made myself a sandwich I didn't really want and sat at the kitchen table in the quiet. My phone stayed face down. It didn't stay quiet for long. The first call came at 7:42. My sister. I let it ring. Then again. Then mom. Then my sister again. Texts started stacking up like bricks. Why is my card declining? Call me now. This is an emergency. That one made me almost smile. Of course it was. At 8:15, my mom left a voicemail. I didn't listen. I didn't need to. At 8:31, my sister texted. I'm at Target with the kids, what did you do? At 8:44, Mark, this is abusive. That one was funny, in a dark way. The second money stopped, they reached for the biggest word they could find. By 9 o'clock, my screen showed a number I didn't believe at first. 81 missed calls. 81. In an hour and change. Like I'd cut off oxygen. Like they'd been living with their hand in my pocket and suddenly found fabric instead of cash. I finally listened to one voicemail. Not because I felt guilty, but because I wanted to know what story they were telling. It was my mom. Her voice was high, tight, frantic. Mark, call me back right now. Your sister is out, and the twins, she can't. This is humiliating. People are staring. We have things on that card, important things. You can't just do this. Humiliating. Not sorry. Now we crossed a line. Humiliating. I put the phone down and stared at the kitchen clock. My house was quiet. Lily's door was shut upstairs. The heat kicked on and hummed. I thought about how many times I'd swallowed my own humiliation to keep them comfortable. How many times I'd said yes so my mother wouldn't sigh, so my sister wouldn't cry, so my dad wouldn't get that disappointed look. And how none of that had protected my daughter. At 9:12, the doorbell rang. I didn't move right away. Then it rang again, longer. I walked to the window and looked through the blinds. My mom's car. My sister's car. Both parked like they owned the place. I opened the door, but didn't step back. Mom tried to push past me out of habit. I blocked the doorway with my shoulder. What did you do? She demanded, like I'd broken into her house. My sister stood behind her, hair in a messy bun, twins in pajamas, both whining. She looked furious and embarrassed at the same time. The card isn't working, my sister snapped. My groceries got declined. My kids were right there. Mom chimed in immediately. This is not the time for your little tantrum. We have commitments. I kept my voice even. I removed you as authorized users. Mom blinked like she didn't understand the words. You can't do that, she said. I can, I replied. My sister's eyes widened. Over babysitting? I didn't take the bait. I said the truth, plain and calm. Lily is not your free nanny. And I'm not your backup bank. Mom's face tightened. How dare you talk to me like that? I didn't raise my voice. I'm done, I said. I'm done funding a family that treats my kid like hired help. My sister scoffed. She's 16. She can babysit. It's not a big deal. I looked past them, at the twins rubbing their eyes, and I felt that familiar pull. The old reflex to fix things. Then I pictured Lily at the table, cheeks red, trying to disappear. And the pull vanished. If you want childcare, I said, pay for it. If you want Lily's time, ask her and pay her. If you can't afford it, that's not Lily's problem. Mom hissed, family helps. I nodded once. Family respects. My sister's voice got sharp. You're going to ruin us. I didn't argue. I didn't explain my budget. I didn't list the charges. I didn't beg them to see reason. I just repeated the boundary. The same way you repeat a safety rule on a job site. Lily is not your free nanny. I'm not your backup bank. Mom's eyes flashed. After everything we've done. I cut in gently, because I wasn't doing the old dance anymore. Go home, I said. It's late. My sister stepped forward like she was going to push past me. Mom put a hand on her arm, not to calm her down, but like she was controlling her own chess piece. Then Mom did what she always did when she wasn't getting her way. She tried to make it about my daughter. She needs discipline, Mom said loudly. She's gotten too comfortable saying no. That made my jaw clench. Not because I wanted to yell, because my kid could hear that. Even if she was upstairs. Even if her door was closed. Kids hear tone. They hear intention. I lowered my voice. Don't talk about her like she's not a person, I said. Not in my house. Mom looked stunned, like I'd slapped her with a sentence. My sister's face twisted. Fine. Fine. So what now? We just suffer. I held the door open wider. Good night, I said. They stood there for a second like they expected the old me to crack. When I didn't, my mom grabbed my sister's elbow and turned her around. As they walked back to their cars, my mom threw one last line over her shoulder. You're going to regret this. I watched their taillights disappear down the street. Then I locked the door. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt steady, like a beam finally set level after years of someone kicking the supports. The fallout came in waves. The next morning, my sister texted a screenshot of a daycare invoice and wrote, Are you happy now? My mom sent a paragraph about gratitude and how family works and ended it with, Your father is sick over this. My dad didn't call. He never did the emotional labor. He let mom do it. He just sent one text. Call your mother. I didn't. I went to work. I poured concrete with my crew. I kept my head down. I let my body do what it knew how to do. But my phone kept buzzing in my pocket like a trapped insect. By lunch, my sister had moved from anger to bargaining. Just do weekends until we get on our feet. On our feet. Like they'd been crawling. Like they hadn't been shopping and traveling and living on my credit line. Then the guilt. The twins asked why Uncle Mark is mad at them. That one almost got me. Because it was designed to. I didn't respond. At home that night, Lily sat at the table doing homework. She looked up when I walked in. Grandma called me, she said. My stomach dropped. What did she say? Lily shrugged, but her mouth tightened. She said I should be grateful my aunt is giving me a chance to learn. And she said if I don't help, I'm selfish. I took a slow breath. I sat down across from my daughter. I kept my voice calm. You are not selfish for having your own life, I said. You are not selfish for wanting to work and study and rest. Lily blinked a few times, fast. She looked down at her notebook. Okay, she said quietly. Then, after a pause, she added, Did you do something? Because they're acting weird. I didn't want to make her feel like the cause of a war. But I also wasn't going to lie. I made a change, I said. A money change. Because I'm done letting them use us. Lily's pencil stopped moving. She didn't smile. She didn't celebrate. She just let out a breath I don't think she realized she'd been holding. Oh, she said. Okay. That was it. No drama. Just relief. A couple days later, my cousin Rachel texted me. Not to guilt me. Not to scold me. She wrote, Hey, I heard what happened. For what it's worth, good for you. Aunt Linda's been bragging for years about that emergency card. Like you're their personal ATM. Then she added, Also, Lily deserves better. I stared at that message for a long time. Because it reminded me of something important. It wasn't just me noticing the pattern. Everyone had seen it. They'd just been waiting for me to stop accepting it. The next weekend, my sister tried a new angle. She showed up at my job site. Right there at the trailer, in front of my foreman. Hair done. Makeup perfect. A performance. She said, Mark, can we talk? I stepped outside, away from the guys. I didn't want Lily's name floating around a construction site like gossip. My sister crossed her arms. Mom says you're cutting us off because Lily is being dramatic. I didn't react to the bait. I said, Lily isn't babysitting every weekend. And you're not using my credit card. She scoffed. So you're just abandoning family. I looked at her, really looked. My sister had never asked what Lily wanted. Not once. She'd never thanked me for the money. Not once. She just got used to the access. I said, you're an adult. Figure it out. Her eyes narrowed. You're going to make Mom cry. I nodded once. Okay. That made her flinch. Because the old me would have folded right there. She leaned in and lowered her voice. You know you owe us, she hissed. Dad helped you with that truck years ago. That was true. 10 years back, my dad co-signed for me when my credit was still recovering from the divorce. I'd paid that loan. Every payment. On time. But my family didn't see repayment as an ending. They saw it as proof I was forever in debt to them. I said, I don't owe you my daughter. Then I turned and walked back to work. No speech. No lecture. Just done. That night, my mom sent me an email. Because I'd stopped answering her calls. She wrote about how I was teaching Lily to disrespect elders. She wrote about how my sister deserved help. And then she wrote the line that sealed it in my mind forever. If you keep this up, don't expect us to show up for Lily when she needs family. As if they'd been showing up at all. I didn't respond. I forwarded it to a folder I labeled Proof because I'd learned to protect myself with receipts. Then I went upstairs and knocked on Lily's door. She opened it a crack, earbuds around her neck. Hey, I said. Want pancakes tomorrow morning? Just us. She studied my face, like she was checking if that offer would get canceled by someone else's needs. Then she nodded. Yeah, she said. That sounds nice. A month later, the noise finally lowered, not because they understood, but because they adjusted. My sister posted a long rant online about toxic people and boundaries being used as weapons. I only heard about it because a coworker's wife followed her. Mom told extended family I was being controlled by my teenage daughter, which would have been almost funny if it hadn't been aimed at Lily. But the practical stuff changed. My sister stopped treating every weekend like a shopping trip. The random home decor runs slowed down. She picked up extra shifts. She found a sitter she actually had to pay. Not perfect, not free, but real. And the world didn't end. The twins were fine. Kids always are. Our house got quieter in a good way. Lily picked up an extra shift at the bookstore and tucked the money away without announcing it. She studied at the kitchen table without flinching every time my phone lit up. One Saturday, I came home and found her in the garage, eyeing my old tool bench like it was a doorway she'd never been allowed to use. I want to build a shelf for my room, she said. You want to? I asked. She nodded. Yeah, actually build it. So we did. Pine boards, brackets, sanding, my spare safety glasses sliding down her nose. When the last screw hit the stud, she leaned back and smiled. Small, real. I did that. The shelf stayed up. Solid. Level. Proof. A couple weeks later, Mom tried one last shove, family dinner Sunday. Don't be childish. Bring Lily. I replied, we're not available. She fired back, because of the babysitting? I didn't argue or rehash the $47,013.82. I wrote, because Lily is my priority. That Sunday, we made tacos and ate at our wobbly table. Afterward, Lily handed me a folded drawing of our kitchen, 2 stick figures, and her new shelf. Across the top, thank you for choosing me. On Monday morning, I cut the old authorized user cards in half with my work shears. No speech. No ceremony. Then I drove Lily to school, ignored one buzzing call, and listened to her talk about a book she wanted to read next. For once, the only voices that mattered were in my cab.